Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to the Unitarian Church of Evanston. I'm Mary Ellen McGoey, this morning's worship associate. I want to welcome our guest preacher, Reverend Allison Farnum, Director of Unitarian Universalist Prison Ministry of Illinois. Whether this is your spiritual home or you are newly discovering this community, we are grateful you're with us. We are an inclusive and welcoming community seeking truth and love and striving to nurture the human spirit for a world made whole. We are guided by our principles and values which remind us in every moment and through every challenge that each of us is worthy of love and that we are all connected through the vast and beautiful web of existence. We come together to remember our kinship with one another and to hold one another in heart and mind with tenderness and careful attention. If you are joining us online, there are many links of connection in the description below the YouTube live stream, including the order of service credits, ways to support our mission, and how to join our email newsletter list. If you are in the sanctuary, we encourage you to use the QR code for the digital order of service or to take one of the large print orders of service. Both are located on the table in the lobby. There are listening assistance devices there as well, and hymnals are available for anyone to use. A few announcements. The Fair Trade Cart wants to thank everyone for your patronage these past months and announces that they will be closed for the summer beginning on Sunday, July 17th. So get what you need before they close for the summer. Our new hearing loop system has been installed. It needed an upgrade in the system that required a part to be ordered. As soon as it is online, John Siegel will introduce it during our Sunday morning announcements. As we begin our worship service, those joining us online are invited to gather your chalice as we join in beloved community.
Good morning. This morning is a participatory time, and I'm inviting you when I raise my hands up to say, no one is outside the circle of love. Let's try it.
No one is outside the circle of love.
We know that hurt moves through the world perpetrated by action, inaction, and indifference. Our values call us to live in the reality of the heartbreak of our world, remembering that we who are Unitarian Universalists not only affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, we also affirm the inherent wholeness of every being, despite apparent brokenness. We know that things break or break down. Promises, hope, friendship, sobriety, communication. This breaking happens because our human hearts are human, and our very institutions are frail and imperfect. We make mistakes. Life is messy. With compassion as our guide, we seek the well-being of all people. We seek to dismantle systems of oppression that undermine our collective humanity. We believe that we're here to guide one another to love. No matter how fractured we are or once were, we can make whole people of ourselves. We are whole at our core because of the great, unnameable, sometimes inconceivable love in which we live.
The Unitarian Church of Evanston resides on the traditional homelands of the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations. This land was recorded as being transferred from the local Potawatomi community to the U.S. government in 1829, and then was sold to white settlers. After decades of violent encroachment by the French, British, and then U.S. American settlers, the Potawatomi community had no choice but to sell before they were forcefully removed west of the Mississippi River. The Chicagoland area is now home to one of the largest and most diverse urban Native communities in the U.S. Our faith calls us to name these realities with honor and respect as one small effort toward finding greater accountability, deeper relationship, and mutuality with contemporary indigenous communities, for the land which we use as sacred space, for the animals and plants that have been sustained by this land, and for our ancestors and descendants who are and will become part of the earth. Now we'll have the chalice lighting. As members of our prison ministry team light our chalice, symbol of our living tradition, please join in saying the words by Deanna Van Diver on the screen. We light this chalice, symbol of our faith alive in this world, naming our vision of collective liberation and daring to remember each other into beloved community. Please rise in body or spirit and join in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Before we sing our opening hymn, let's turn to one another briefly to say good morning. Try to greet someone sitting near you, but who you don't know yet.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You're doing great. You're doing good. I'm going to get this pencil up before I slip on it.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, I know. I just...
Wow, yeah, good
I know,
idea.
right? That's the last thing we need.
Do you want a pen? I have a pen.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Am I up next?
No, I'm up next. I'm going to ring and then we'll sing. As we join in singing, I want to invite you into the context of this song, I Wish I Knew How, by Billy Taylor, written in 1963. It became part of an anthem of the full portfolio of so much music that fueled the civil rights movement for Black liberation that continues to move on through this time today. And as we sing this song, let us recall in our minds and hearts that as we sing the songs, I Wish I Knew How, and what it means to be free, that we hold in our hearts all of those right now who are currently incarcerated in jails and prisons in Illinois. Let us join in singing 151.
All the
Amen. You may be seated. I want to share with you a story today written by Mariam Kaba, and she writes in her introduction for the children's book, Missing Daddy. I wrote this book out of frustration. In my anti-prison work, I've witnessed firsthand the ravages of incarceration and its impact on our communities. Over the years, I've often been asked by caregivers, educators, and organizers for resources to help children with an incarcerated loved one to cope with loss, grief, and trauma. There are 2.7 million children under 18 who have an incarcerated parent, and over 5 million have experienced the incarceration of a parent at some point in our lives. In other words, 1 in 28 American children have an incarcerated parent. Missing Daddy by Mariam Kaba. It begins with a quote. Each and every family is unique, from its people to its food to the words that we speak. Related or chosen, large or small, we can feel loved even when the world puts up a wall. Daddy calls me Lightbug because I'm so pretty and bright. Since I don't see him very much, I hold on to his words real tight. Daddy went away to prison when I was only 3. When I ask Grandma why he's there, she says, "Baby, the reasons are many." Sometimes my classmates laugh and make fun. They say, "You know your daddy's a criminal, and that makes you one." I guess some kids forget that words can really hurt your feelings. Grandma says everyone should be kinder and choose words that are gentle and healing. I try to be brave and hold back my tears. I feel a blue wave of sadness. My daddy won't be home for years. Mama works day and night. She's always on her feet. I miss her, but she says, "Baby, you know we have to eat." My teacher, Miss Lee, taught us that there are all kinds of families. Some kids have a mommy, or others have 2 daddies. Those who love us help us grow, no matter who they are. They are our true family, whether near or far. I have an older sister named Mary, who I never get to see. She lives with her mommy in a place called DC. I wish we could talk regularly because we share the same story. I want to tell her I miss Daddy, but I don't want her to worry. At school, I talk to the counselor, Miss Parker. I guess it helps me feel a little bit better. She asks me lots of questions about my daddy in prison. Sometimes I don't want to speak, so I talk about my ballet lesson. When visiting day is near, I can hardly sleep. I'm so excited, the happiness in my soul is deep. We travel to the prison. It is far, far away. Getting there takes me and Grandma all day. Finally, I see Daddy across the visiting room. His laugh to me is like fireworks, a loud, colorful boom. I run and I jump into his arms and he hugs me tight. "Good to see you, my little light bug, always so pretty and bright." The end. I want to invite you to join in singing the sung response It's in your teal hymnal number 1053 and also projected above. We'll sing it through twice. It's called How Could Anyone? Into you and through to everyone else who needs to hear these words. Miracle, how deeply you're connected to my soul. Each Sunday, we hold space for the joys and sorrows of those gathered here, honoring the struggles and the triumphs, the brokenness and wholeness that is woven into the human experience. If you have a joy or a sorrow that you would like spoken aloud, you may always write it in the Joys and Sorrows book at the back of the sanctuary, or submit it through a Google form found on our homepage of the website, or email one of the ministers. And if you enter a joy into the live stream chat, it will be shared with the community through Realm, which is the membership networking platform. These are the joys and sorrows that have been shared before our service today. We have a joy from Carla Williams, expressing many thanks to those completing their service on the Unitarian Church of Evanston's Board of Trustees, and much gratitude to those continuing or starting their service on the board this year. Friend of the church, Linda Labor, shares that Jacob Adam Labor died on May 18th, 2022. His entire family mourns his loss. He was loved and admired for being a wonderful partner to Linda, a beloved father and grandfather to his children and grandchildren. He dedicated his life to his family and wife and demonstrated a work ethic that was profound. Another friend of the Unitarian Church of Evanston, Linda Goltz, shares that her Aunt Dorothy is in a nursing home with congestive heart failure at stage 3. The family welcomes prayers of comfort. And from Susan Talmadge, a joy and a sorrow. A joy that Sean started a new job June 13th after more than a year since the last job ended. And a sorrow that Susan's aunt, Annalise Tribal, passed away last week due to Alzheimer's. Her cousin reports that she was relatively peaceful. It was in her sleep. She lived in San Francisco area most of her life after immigrating from Germany via Canada with her uncle. And they were like second parents to her, a second opa and oma to her sons. Into this sacred space, we have our tender offerings as a part of the practice of beloved community. And together we expand our celebrations and we lessen the burden of our grief. So during this time, you are invited to come forward and light a candle for any joy or sorrow that is on your heart. As we hold space for all the joys and sorrows of our lives, those spoken and still remaining in the corners of our heart, I just invite you into the spirit of prayer and meditation. Source of life, Spirit of love, you who move in and through all things, be with us now. Allow us to continue to be present to one another, present to all that we carry. And for the times when it feels like too much, that there is a greater space that can hold all our concerns and our sorrows, our worries, our troubles, our resentments, that they could spill out of us and be held in the love of this community, this network of hands and hearts that's greater than the sum of its parts, that weaves a sacred vessel, that reminds us, calls us to affirm in our lives and in how we move and act in the world that no one is outside the circle of love. And that these words may be directed outwards, past these walls, past all the strange and foolish barriers that separate us from one another. That we would truly know and enliven our interdependence. And at the same time, that we call back in to the core of our own being, reminding ourselves that we are each worthy of love, respect, and care. That we too are held in this mighty embrace of this circle of love, and that we might continually find ways to act on our own behalf, bringing in that love into our minds, our bodies, and the very core of who we are, acting from a place that is grounded in love, with hearts that are open, even in the midst of all that breaks our hearts. We remain open. Be with us now, and may love continue to move through us always. Blessed be. Ashe, salam, shalom. Amen. Let us sing for collective liberation, our own, of all the things that keep us from being the love we want to be in the world, and for all those who physically need freedom. Number 155, Circle Round for Freedom.
For
As we say in our covenant each Sunday, service is our law. UCE is called by our mission, values, and principles to contribute to our community, to form accountable partnerships, and to express gratitude through giving. Today's offering will be shared with Moran Center for Youth Advocacy, which is dismantling the school-to-prison pipeline with a lifeline of innovative, holistic, legal, and social work programs. We have a 2-minute video from them.
I don't think anybody comes to this work accidentally. We are all broken, and we want to be part of not only fixing ourselves, but fixing each other.
When a young person comes into the Moran Center, it's very clear that they feel supported. These young people are going to grow up and show the world what they have.
The Moran Center for Youth Advocacy was founded by Alderman James B. Moran back in 1981. We are lawyers and social workers working hand in hand to stem the school-to-prison pipeline.
What I really like about the Moran Center is the holistic approach.
The organization has married social work and legal representation. It's a place where people really live the mission.
If you're working at the Moran Center, you call it more of a calling than, oh, this is a job.
One of my close friends, he was a young man of color. He had some brush-ins with the law. He ended up taking his life. I didn't want anyone to ever feel that alone. I decided I wanted to be a social worker with populations that often weren't given a second chance when I was in 8th grade, and it's not changed since then. We never give up on anybody.
If you are joining us from home or in the building, you may text to give, mail in a check, or give from our website. If you write a check, please indicate in the memo line if your check is for the shared offering, pledge, capital campaign, or some other giving. If you are in the sanctuary, the ushers will pass the collection bowls down the aisles. Will the ushers come forward, please? Please give as generously as you are able, and may what you give bring you joy.
I am so delighted to introduce you to a fellow Unitarian Universalist from the North Shore congregation, Paul Safian, who is part of our Pen Pal Advisory Council, and he also is in charge of getting out our newsletter to our pen pals who are in Illinois prisons. He's going to share with you today a little bit about the Pen Pal program.
Good morning. I actually want to share a personal experience with you about the Pen Pal program. When I was growing up, my family had two maxims that pretty much guided my behavior. Do your best and keep in touch. When I went away to summer camp and when I went to college, if I didn't write my parents at least weekly, I would receive some guilt-inducing phone calls and inquiries through mail about my health and education and welfare. So I was trained to keep in touch. So when Megan Selby came to North Shore about 4 years ago, I thought that keeping in touch with an insider of one of the prisons was something that I could do. I was practiced at writing letters and eventually emails to my family and friends. And when I took on the task of this writing, I thought it would be just a regular thing that I could schedule to do every couple of weeks as required, and that would be good. What I didn't know is that in almost 4 weeks, it's become one of the most significant relationships in my entire life. As he endures the conditions in prisons, my pen pal has taught me about resilience in a way that I don't think anyone who hadn't been in prison or maybe in a concentration camp could develop. I didn't know that he would teach me to appreciate how important it was to have a good book around all the time. I didn't know how he'd reflect on how welcome a special meal would be at a holiday or occasionally on a birthday. I didn't know that he would start to teach himself French when classes shut down during COVID. He's taught me about the law, or at least as it's practiced within the Illinois prison system, and he has a grasp on current events that often staggers me. He's been in prison since 1998. And now he looks forward to a release in the next year or so because of earned time that he has achieved through working in a bakery and through teaching citizenship classes and HIV/AIDS prevention classes whenever they were made available within the prison walls for him to teach. Now, not all inmates are like him. But he certainly puts a lie to the idea that these folks being behind bars are some sort of subhuman thugs. No one is outside the circle of love. I'm here today to promote the Pen Pal program and to encourage you to consider volunteering to be either a solo pen pal or a shared pen pal for someone incarcerated in one of Illinois' or the federal prisons within the state of Illinois. We have 50 incarcerated persons who have responses from outside pen pals, but in addition, we have 40 more people who are waiting for a pen pal, some of whom have been waiting more than a year. Now, we send these waiters our newsletter, but they miss the regular every 2 to 3 week contact that our connected pen pals have. So please join me. No one is outside the circle of love. I'll be around to answer questions during the kinship period and to take names after this service. If you have shied away from taking on this role in the past, let me assure you about some of the safeguards and some of the support that you'll receive if you join. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. What a gift it is to be with you and to share with you the gifts of connection with people who are inside through the Pen Pal program, but also the opportunity to share from my friend and pen pal, Lonnie Smith, who wrote this poem that he wants you to hear. It's entitled Ghost. With all these years in prison, I believe I've come to feel what a ghost feels, forced to be spectators in a world where we've been long forgotten, neither here nor there as life goes on around us. Some have forgotten that they were ever a part of that world. They go around hating the world and the people in it. Others remember too well. They long to be of that world again, to be seen, to be heard, to be relevant. Every once in a while, for however brief it may be, someone sees them, really sees them, not for what they are told to see, a ghost, but for what lies beneath. For those who haven't and do not want to forget, who still cherish and hang on to their humanity, it means the world to them. So yes, behind these four walls, I've most definitely come to feel what a ghost must feel. Your friendly ghost. Do you get it yet? No one is. Amen. Let me show you a picture of my friend Lonnie. Let's see. There he is. That's Lonnie Smith. He's been in Stateville for over 30 years. Stateville Prison is in Joliet, Illinois. When Lonnie and I talk on the phone, we talk about the food that we like to eat, the food that he would want to be able to cook. We talk about all the food that I would love to cook. He usually calls me when I'm cooking dinner. We talk about food a lot. We also talk about theology. He most recently graduated from North Park Seminary with a degree in Christian ministry, a master's, and that was through a program that is an inside-out program. And so that was offered through Stateville, which is a maximum security prison. And to be there for that experience was, my face hurt from smiling so much. Who knew? But these acts of resistance and resilience happen in prisons all the time. And with Lonnie, we only get to talk 20 minutes at a time. Our emails have delays by 1 day to 5 days, depending on the whims of who's reviewing the emails and the platform itself for communication. Every time we communicate, there's some reminder that he's in prison, and that I can go to his graduation ceremony, but he can't leave. That he graduates and commences something new, but he's still in prison. This is the Roundhouse, it's the Panopticon. It's apparently an architectural marvel. It was condemned years ago, but then reopened during the pandemic to house the people with COVID. This is Lonnie preaching during his class, preaching the good word about how we could all put on the armor of God, how we can equip ourselves with love in the world. Here he is preaching to his people, reminding them of all the resources they have within, of how to conduct themselves, even in the most challenging of times. And this is his cap and gown. When we left Stateville Prison, this is what we were able to take with us. He wasn't able to keep his own master's hood, his tassel, his emblem. And so me and another pen pal of his from the congregation in Hinsdale, we took it home. And she's keeping it, safekeeping, in hopes for his release, that the governor would sign the petition for clemency that is on his desk for Lonnie and for so many others. When I began this work in January of 2020, I had 3 months of real in-person time, and then it was shut down. And I realized that having a pen pal relationship was going to be necessary for me to do the work of being the director of a prison ministry. And like what Paul shares, I didn't know. There was so much I didn't know, and there's so much I still do not know. What I do know is that there are strange and foolish walls that divide us. In the words of the great white Unitarian theologian and preacher A. Powell Davies reminds us, he says, "Here we are, all of us upon this planet, bound together in a common destiny, living our lives between the briefness of daylight and dark, and kindred in this, each lighted by the same precarious flickering flame of life. How does it happen that we are not kindred in all things else? How strange and foolish are these walls of separation that divide us?" And so prison culture, for so many who are not directly impacted, remains invisible to far too many. And yet, I will tell you this, we must never assume who is in our rooms who has been touched by the criminal punishment system. That there are more than you realize when you are in your kinship time who have been deeply affected, lives torn apart by this system that is deathly to our bodies and our souls and our communities. When I have had time to be in Zoom rooms or fellowship times in person nowadays, you would be surprised at the people who come to me quietly sometimes in the corner to tell me of their experiences. Please don't ever assume who the we is in the room. And that all of us, because we are bound together and working towards collective liberation, all of us are deeply affected by these systems. Now, plenty of us and my predecessor, the Reverend Karen Mooney, have been here in this pulpit. We have talked about the programs that the Unitarian Universalist Prison Ministry does. And I will be available in the Kinship Hour to talk with you about all of those good things. Because sometimes when we come and we roll through these doors, or we dial on in or Zoom in to connect, we don't come to hear about programs that are being offered. We come to be reminded that we're beautiful, that we're whole, that we're better than our worst mistakes, and that we are always learning and growing, and that we are surrounded by people who believe in that too. When we as individuals may not have the oomph or the energy or the inner power in the moment to remember that we can remember ourselves when we gather together in beloved community, working towards beloved community. One of our former Solidarity Circle leaders, Monica Cosby, who's an activist and an abolitionist, she says, "To me, community means something. Within community, there's a shared responsibility and accountability, caring and connection. It is understood that the health, the happiness, success, security, and stability of the community is directly connected to that of the individuals in it. In community, support is given where it is needed. Solidarity is lived, not just a word spoken." Dear ones, it is such a gift to be able to be in pulpits around the state of Illinois in Unitarian Universalist spaces to remind you of the gift that you have in companioning one another in the spirit of solidarity. To be reminded that we always have, at least maybe can offer one chance to someone, or second chance, or third, or fourth, or fifth, because we believe and we pledge ourselves towards a covenanted community, one where we make promises about how we want to be together in this world and know that we're gonna mess up and that we have to keep trying. We have to keep on moving forward together, and that it is messy, and that has everything to do with combating the deathly systems that tell us that prison is a solution, that criminalizing and surveilling communities is a solution. No, it is part of it is actually a well-oiled machine that needs to be disrupted. Because we are reminded here that we can be a part of and have been a part of partnering with places where there are life-affirming institutions bubbling up everywhere. That over the years there have been communities who have been historically marginalized and targeted, whether LGBTQIA+, or the people who have disabilities, or whether it's people of color, the poor, where they have never been able to rely on the state. And so communities of connection, of solidarity, circles of restoration and accountability have always been there. And there are others who have never known that those things existed. And yet, these glimmers of hope, we have to find those places and continue to nurture and invest in those places. There's a slide that I wanted to share with you from a presentation from our Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association, where the Reverend Alicia Ford shared with us a quote from Bell Hooks, "A love ethic that invites us to value loyalty and a commitment to sustained bonds with people, plants, planet beings over material advancement." That we are reminded continually that there are things that are more important than what society and culture tells us. And that there's a love ethic that calls us and reminds us that no one is outside the circle of love. And that we invest in that ethic and we move through it in our being and in our ways. And Reverend Alicia reminds us to divest ourselves of the notion that any part of the violent settler empire can or should be saved. These well-oiled machines, they need to be ignored and taken down, and we have the opportunity to insist, as she reminds us, on abolition, on reparations, on giving land back, on welfare for all beings. We have the opportunity in our day-to-day interactions, as well as in institutionally as congregations and as Unitarian Universalists as an association, to continue to invest in that which is life-giving, that which enlivens a love ethic, that which reminds us that no one. And so we are reminded of the philosophy of the beloved community, invited in every moment to allow love to move in and through us. So may it be. Amen. Amen.
As we extinguish the chalice, please join in saying the words on the screen by the Reverend Elizabeth Sell Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
And you're invited to sing along with the video. Unfortunately, the lyrics are not available, but it is something called a zipper song. And so you'll hear the lyric, and then you'll be able to just keep singing along with it from Emma's Revolution.
Gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. Sigamos adelante. Siempre adelante. Siempre adelante, sin volver atrás, sin volver atrás. Gonna keep on loving boldly, keep on loving boldly, keep on loving boldly. Never turning back, never turning back. Amaremos con pasión, siempre con pasión, siempre con pasión, sin volver atrás. Sin volver atrás. Gonna reach across our borders, reach across our borders, reach across our borders, never turning back, never turning back. Vivamos sin fronteras, siempre sin fronteras, siempre sin fronteras, sin volver atrás, sin volver atrás. Gonna reunite the family. Reunite the family, reunite the family, never turning back, never turning back. Familias reunidas, siempre reunidas, siempre reunidas, sin volver atrás, sin volver atrás. Gonna keep on moving forward, keep on moving forward, turning back, never turning back.
Peace.
We love you.
From Gwendolyn Brooks, we are each other's harvest. We are each other's business. We are each other's magnitude and bond. Blessed be.